literally do what they were doing, and they were getting paid ridiculous amount of money to work in Nigeria.
How much is ridiculous amount?
$7,000 to $10,000 a month.
Wow. How did you end up in Saudi Arabia?
3G was one of the main reasons I moved. Getting to Saudi, I started working on 4G, which was a new technology at the time.
Do you believe that you can build wealth through your career?
What do you consider wealthy? Cloud created a lot of millionaires. AI is doing the same thing. But with the right positioning and upskilling, you can build wealth with your 9 to 5. What are the complex processes today? Can I use AI to automate those operations? Can we build things like AI-powered chatbots?
So I'm just going to ask you directly. Do you think that AI is going to take our jobs?
Yes, it will take jobs. It will take a lot of jobs.
Hey, Dami. Thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, you're actually my first guest on this podcast, so I'm excited to open up with such an important conversation with you. So let's get right into it. You have worked in the corporate space for about 2 decades. Wow, that's a long time. Can you share a little bit about your journey? I know that you've walked across continents. So just tell me and tell the audience about your journey in corporate.
Yeah, so absolutely. My journey started with Ericsson back in Nigeria. LM Ericsson. I interned with them on my 4th year of college. At the time, I was doing my undergrad at OAU in computer engineering, and I started this internship, a 6 months internship with Ericsson, and it was very eye opening for me. As a multinational with a lot of consultants from all over the world, working with this company that was in Nigeria with so many experts and foreigners, and learning skills every day from them was very eye-opening for me, even while in college. So it was an interesting journey, because from there to how I ended up in Saudi Arabia with Ericsson in Saudi, to ultimately moving to the US with Ericsson was a big part of my journey of why I'm here today.
That's amazing. So it's not every day you see someone who has worked in Saudi Arabia. So how did you end up in Saudi Arabia?
Interesting. Yeah, so right after my internship with Ericsson, I went back to college for my final year. And then I came back to Ericsson for 1 year NYSC, which is the national program that we do in Nigeria right after college. So during that time, I worked with a lot of other consultants, and I learned new skills in that time. And one thing that stood out for me was these are consultants that could literally do what they were doing, and they were getting paid ridiculous amount of money to work in Nigeria.
How much is ridiculous amount?
Well, we're talking about something between $7,000 to $10,000 a month. And I was on this program where I was barely making $100 a month.
Wow.
So it was interesting. So over time, as I picked up some of these skills, I was working closely with them, and I literally started doing what they were doing. It was very obvious to me quickly that to kind of make that big salary jump, I would have to work and consult outside the country. They weren't offering anything more than probably $1,000 to anyone that worked locally at the time. But if you were consulting any other country, you could get this kind of interesting package as a consultant. So very quickly, my mindset shifted from working in Nigeria on a 9 to 5 to consulting internationally.
That's amazing. And I always say that location is one of the factors that people need to consider in building wealth. I think at some point we all have to move, whether it's moving industries or moving locations or even switching careers. And it sounds to me like you have done all the 3 moves, and that has somehow paid off. If you were to come up with a theme for all your career so far, what would you say is something that is a theme for your career?
I would say upskilling and continuous learning, and also being able to identify where the right opportunities are. Very early in my career, even dating back to my internship days, it was where I spotted the opportunity where everyone was working on a kind of skill set, and there was an opportunity to learn something new and do a completely different project that the skill set wasn't readily available. So I asked to join that project as the only intern at the time. And that for me was very game changing because things I got to do for just being the only intern on that project versus six, seven other interns doing the normal day to day stuff was very transformational in my career, even as an intern. So that's an experience I've taken across my career to say any opportunity where you can spot something different, something new, something emerging technology that you could learn and have that early move advantage, it's usually very game changing in the way you should approach your career.
Yeah, and I think that knowing a part of your story that is very true to you, and it also applies to the way you also came to the US. So, can you share how that philosophy has guided you and how that helped you move to the US as well?
Yeah, so yeah, it's the same concept, same idea, same kind of approach. From going from Nigeria to Ericsson, Saudi Arabia, and working in Saudi for almost 3 years, learning 4G in Saudi. So I moved to Saudi with Ericsson. So it was really I was still more in the telecommunication space at the time. 3G was one of the main reasons I moved, but right getting to Saudi, I started working on 4G, which was a new technology at the time. Kind of invested a lot of time to learn and study and really be good at the technology that at the time it was very limited in the US. So opportunity opened up. There was a couple of roles coming up in the US after the economy knelt down of 2008, 2009. And there was an opportunity to do 4G in the US. So I got interviewed from there, and that's how I got transferred. And the rest they say is history.
The rest, they say, is history. So you moved to the US, you
Okay.
continue working with Ericsson. How long were you with Ericsson, and when did you eventually? I know that you currently work in the technology space. How long did you work for Ericsson, and when did you eventually pivot into tech?
Yeah, so that's good question. I joined I moved to Ericsson in 2011, in Ericsson USA in 2011, and I was there to 2017, so roughly about 6 years. In that time, technology evolved, right? Coming to Ericsson was 4G, and then there's a talk of 5Gs. I did all this kind of project, but one thing that always helped was you need to understand the environment in which you're working. You need to look at trends, you need to look at patterns, and then maybe also get bored easily and always try to do something new. So very quickly, I started seeing a pattern in the telco space where the skill set was very mainstream, right? Things that were very specialized before, you had a lot more people having access or being able to do what you could do. So the next thing I always, when that happens, the way I reinvent myself is to, okay, what is the next thing? What is the next? And there's always the next thing. From if you're in any kind of industry and any, whether it's telecommunication, even tech is a big example. There's always something going on. There's always something next. So for me, it was almost like the party was over in the 4G space. 5G wasn't picking up. Ericsson was laying off on a regular basis. Telecommunication market was was shrinking on a daily basis. So very quickly I spotted, okay, that pattern, you need to change things. So I started looking, and gradually I moved to the cloud space.
How did you get your foot in the door? It's one thing to spot the technology, but how do you get your foot in the door in a world where there's so many good people right now here in the US? There's so many experts, so many people who already know this cloud. Some people already working in this space. So how are you able to not just spot the trend? How does one get their feet in the door?
Yeah, so my journey might be different from someone else's journey, but one, and I identified that the first thing is how do I get experience? How do I get this expertise? How do I get a profile that speaks to this? So, and I know it's a very challenging thing to do, especially where your 9 to 5 is in one. Like I was still working in Ericsson at the time. So I wake up every day. I have a 9 to 5 that is telecommunication related. And I was trying to learn cloud. So about finding the right material, finding the right training, finding the right experience. So you just have to. Continuous learning is exactly what it is, right? You're doing your day job at the same time preparing for an opportunity that you see, but you don't have yet. I was more very convinced at a pattern in the cloud industry, at the tech industry, that cloud was going to be a big thing. And it was also about the time when I was doing my MBA at ISMU. There was this professor from Microsoft that talked about Microsoft Azure and would tell us what different things you could do in the cloud space. So all of that came together very quickly for me. And I started thinking about certification, getting myself a profile that, would attract this kind of skill set and talent. And gradually I transitioned once I got my first opportunity with Deloitte.
That's amazing. Something that sparked when you were talking is you mentioned that while you were in the telecom space, there was a lot of layoffs and you felt like you needed to act quickly. I feel like we're in that, I also work in tech. I feel like we're in that space where there's a lot of fear because there's been layoff. And on top of that, there's AI that people are saying it's going to take our jobs. So I'm just going to ask you directly, do you think that AI is going to take our jobs?
That's a question I get every day. And I would say, yes, it will take jobs, but it probably won't take your job. It won't take everybody's jobs, but it will take a lot of jobs.
So who should be afraid of AI? Whose job is AI taking?
So AI has been around for a long time, more than a decade. But with the wave of AI that we have today, it's kind of what makes people nervous. But now as generative AI became mainstream with ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, to new capabilities with the Agentic AI right now, that not just AI that can generate new content or like prompt, and these are AIs that can reason, can think, can take action like you and I would do. That is the one that makes people nervous. And that's where we are in 2025 now.
I mean, that's scary because usually humans are different because we've typically been the only ones that can reason and think. But if you tell me that there's this new AI that is going to be able to do what humans have been exclusively only able to do, I think that's a cause for fear. So why are you so confident in like your skill set, and how should we react to this? What should we be doing about it? How can we make sense of this, and how can we position ourselves so that AI favors us and doesn't take our jobs?
Right. So I'll answer that question in two parts,
Okay.
right? Usually it's always about when there's a new technology, there's still a space for the human side of it. There's a concept even in the agentic AI framework we talk about that human in the loop.
Okay.
Systems are in such a way that for security, governance, there's still some handbrakes. So people would say, even though these systems are autonomous, they're supposed to be there's an autonomous thing about the agentic AI that's supposed to give them a task, and independently they have to figure it out and take action. But we add human in the loop to make sure that, hey, okay, can they do 60% of the process and provide an oversight in that loop so that they don't do it at 100%. That way you can eliminate any, malfunction and any wrong. Because, they're not 100% accurate all the time, right? So there is always an opportunity to say there will be people that still be required to work with the systems. There will still be me, you and I on a daily basis. The only difference is the jobs that will replace, you just think about that those that know AI or can work with AI would take the jobs of those that do not. And that's the way I will explain it to you. Because even these technologies are new, but they're still the way the ecosystem is right now, there's still a lot of human intervention across all the domains. So it's a function of, do you want to upskill enough to be one of those at the fore ends of working with those cool technologies? Those are the people that will take the jobs of those that do not upskill and can't work with these technologies.
Interesting. Sounds like a lot of upskilling that we all need to do, but not everyone is technical, right? So for someone in the trying to think of a non-technical career, someone in a non-technical career, how can they be thinking of? Should they be thinking of using AI? Are there specific AI tools that you use? I recommend that people start to play with. Um, Yeah.
Yeah, so there are different applications of the way to think about it. So, if you talk to someone like an SME, for example, in a small business world,
Okay.
you would think about it to say, what are the complex processes today that is a main pain point for my team?
Mhm.
Can I use AI to automate those operations? So you think about the future. So I tell people that the way I think about what would happen in 2026 is when you're trying to expand your team, when organizations try to expand their team, whether rather than hiring more dummies or more Dumebis, they will enable more agentic AIs, agents. So think about it that I can deploy an agent. I have a team. My team they do 5 different things.
Okay.
I can deploy an AI agent that will do 80% of what our team does. And so I would think about if I want to increase my team to do more, instead of adding 5 more members to the team, I'll add 5 more AI agents to the team. So my team will
Interesting.
grow, but will be an hybrid of human and AI agents. That's interesting, right?
Interesting, yeah. Scary times, but interesting times. Can you give me apps, tools that you typically use for yourself? I know that you also at work you also work you're an AI expert and you help enterprises. We'll get to that, but for like the average Joe, what are some like AI tools other than ChatGPT that you think that people should familiarize themselves with?
Yeah, I think a lot of companies have different products right in the market, and they all have different strengths. I would say everyone, regardless of what industry you are, you should be using one of these tools today to make yourself more efficient, faster. I mean, even when you assign tasks to this or you leverage ChatGPT to do anything, you still review that, right? But think about you have a presentation. Can I do it faster? Can I do it better? Can I ask for a brainstorming ideas, things that you typically would have been time consuming by yourself? You can even do a voiceover. You can have a conversation, and all of that is translated today. So just if you're in healthcare, financial services, you're not the most techie person. It doesn't really matter from the usability stand of it. I think everyone should either use. If your ChatGPT is a good example. With the thinking version, you get to do more. Can do more complex stuff. Claude from Anthropic is something I found very interesting. He's one LLM or more model that has worked very well for me, from presentation to generating codes to working any kind of use case. That's also good. Google latest one is Gemini 3. It has some advanced capabilities that are also very superior. So I would say once you identify what works best for you, I think on your day-to-day activity in your job, you should be using one of these tools. And also on the enterprise side of things, once your company also adopt new technology, new AI technology, I would encourage people to raise up their hands to be champions of those innovations. Be interested in whatever tool. People are incorporating AI tools on a day-to-day basis to increase efficiency in the day-to-day activities of the employee. Don't be the last to those kind of technology. Be at the forefront of it. Be the ones that probably first the ones that learn it and start teaching other people. So when name comes up or anything AI, even though you're not the AI software engineer, you are the AI champion in your organization, because that will be very important, because those tools still requires supervisors, managers, and that's where you can play and position yourself. And your job, you'll be fine.
Fine-ish, because we never really know.
Well, true.
Yeah.
You can never tell.
Yeah. So you are an AI expert at work. I know that you're a consultant. What are some things that enterprises are using AI for?
Another great question. So when generative AI came out, the first thing was, what can we do with this technology beyond everybody's ChatGPT, chat and prompt and to generate content? Generative as it is, it's AI that you give it an input, it will learn from it, and it can generate new content based on that input. That's what we do with ChatGPT all day long. So in enterprise, the question was, what can we do with this? But very quickly, people started finding applications. Okay, can I use it to summarize my meeting notes, for example? See what Copilot to do. Can I turn it on? And at the end of the meeting, you summarize that. Okay, so a lot of project managers today will turn on that feature At the end of the call, they don't have to take notes and summarize it. It's summarized. So that was a very practical use case that a lot of people enabled. But most clients have not gone beyond that. Most importantly, there is an application of AI in customer service now, which is in the customer service experience, can we build things like AI powered chatbots, voice bots that can understand natural language, that can generate new content, that basically based on interaction, text or voice, are able to generate what to say to the customer, a completely new prompt. In the previously you would have like very deterministic kind of flow where, oh, when the customer says X, you need to answer with Y. But now with the LLMs and AI, you can actually let the customer say X, and the AI system would generate a new prompt to play to the customer, which is not hard coded. He understands what the customer said.
Mhm.
He has a couple of instructions and is able to generate exactly in the context of the conversation what to play back. And it sounds more human, more natural than the old systems. So contact center space has been across all industry, has found the application of generative AI. And that's where I see most of my client positioning, especially in 2025. 2026, game changing. We're moving from generative AI to agentic AI. So people have said, okay, this AI can generate new content. What else can I do with it? Generative AI was very limited in terms of it can generate, but it can't take action. It can't really take action for you. You can't tell it to finish a task. You can't tell it to, you need to give it step-by-step instructions. But with agentic AI, it can give it an instruction, give it a task. It can plan. It can figure out what it needs to do. You give it a task and give it like 5 different tools. It's able to take the task, process it, and say, okay, I have this tool, I have that tool. This task requires this particular tool. I'm going to use this task, and it's going to execute the task and take the action. That is something we don't have today, and that's something generative AI, agentic AI does for us.
That's awesome. I'm excited to see the trend in 2026 and beyond. Another question I had for you, because this is a wealth podcast, right? So you're very passionate about the tech space. I've heard people often say, or we're in this wave where people are saying, to build wealth, you actually need to start a business. You need to leave corporate and start a business. How, or first, do you believe that you can build wealth through your career?
I believe so. For me, it's always a game of numbers. What do you consider wealthy? What do you consider what is comfort for me might be different from the next person. But one thing I found in this space, especially with technology and being in the tech space, as we evolved over the years from cloud, cloud created a lot of millionaires. AI is doing the same thing. It's about the opportunity, it's about being able to have the skill set and meeting the right opportunity at the right time. Think about people going from a job that paid them 100,000 a year to 300,000, 400,000, 500,000. Think about people that are experienced enough to get a total package of within 500 to $1 million, and what they can take from that and invest in other areas. Can they buy a business after with that? While they're doing their 9 to 5, can they invest in the stock market that has also done well in the last couple of years? So I'm a very big believer that with the right positioning and upskilling, right skill set in the tech space right now, you can build wealth with your 9 to 5.
That's amazing. So I'm going to ask you a couple rapid fire questions as we round up.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes, let's do this.
What is one skill that changed your income the fastest?
Switching to cloud computing.
Okay. What is the biggest career risk that you have taken that paid off?
Great question. Betting on AI.
Okay. If you had only 5 hours a week to upskill, how would you use it?
That's an interesting question. I'll find new things to learn in the AI space. I'm big on the use cases. I'm basically my current domain is about two domains. I work in financial services and telco. I would like to understand how AI use cases apply to other industry. How do you use agentic AI in healthcare? How do you use it in agriculture? How do you use it in education? How can all of these things, how can this technology be applied in other industries? For me, it's something that I don't have enough time to dig into right now that I will spend more time on those.
Awesome. What is the most underrated way to learn fast that people avoid?
Good question. Hands-on labs, practice, they give you experience. I tell people the more comfortable you are hands-on, being able to walk through a couple of labs yourself, what it does to you is bigger than just learning or reading. Being able to walk through a lab or of a task, like how do I use AI to build something? How do I use it? Just walking through a couple of labs. There are a couple of platforms out there that give you opportunities to do that.
What are some platforms, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, Google has something called Google Cloud Skills Booster. There's also a lot of courses on Udemy that have like projects. So these are equivalent of projects in those Udemy courses that they give you a particular project and guide you a platform where you can get your hands dirty on those. Udacity is also another one.
Okay. Now on the lighter side, what is something that you have spent a lot of money on this year?
Travel.
Okay.
Travel.
Okay. And final question, what does wealth mean to you today beyond money?
Fantastic question. So, we talk about wealth a lot of times. The definition seems like it's specific to money, but you talk about wealth in relationships, wealth in your financial wealth. Talk about the religious side of things. So for me, it's an all round. It's an awesome thing, right? I feel like being in good health, being in there's also the God factor, being in a healthy relationship with God. Also, then you could have all the wealth and not that peace of mind. You could be so busy and not time for your family. So are we finding the right balance? It should not be all about money. If you focus on money and you chase that, then you to suffer in other areas. So I think I'm living just that balanced life and being able to achieve all this kind of different component of wealth, including financial wealth, is what I define that as.
Awesome. Thank you. Do you have any closing remarks, final words that you want to say to the audience, especially people who are literally scared about they're living in fear of their jobs taking away from them, or they don't have enough money and they're just living in this constant fear and they don't know what to do. As someone who has done a lot of things, moved across countries, changed jobs, made more money, what is something that you would like to share for someone who is listening to this right now and they're really scared of losing their job and they just don't have enough hope for tomorrow?
Good question. So we all don't know the right answers, but one thing I know is you work with what is in front of us. You work with what your gut's feelings are. You work with what the industry and what is in mainstream today. AI is here to stay. I would encourage everybody to embrace it. What embracing means might be different to different people, but embrace it in any way you can, which is be curious. Try to understand the technology, try to understand how it applies to your job, try to understand because it is really game changing. I am one of those that, I try to get beyond the buzzwords of ChatGPT and all of these things, right? We've started to see real applications of AI. And 2025, there was a lot of advertised layoff that was, attributed to efficiencies that were driven by AI. I would say that would continue into 2026. So rather than being scared and afraid, embrace it. What AI skills can you learn? How can you learn the application of AI in your space? How can you think of what would learning a couple of tools? I did mention tools like Gamma.ai.app that I use for presentations and all of that. Beautiful AI for anything like financial kind of There's so many tools out there. Google released the VO3, which is from text to video, right? People can create animations by just prompting today, and you can stitch those videos together. There's so many opportunities today out there that AI has provided. People can build their own website from prompting. And also, I would say rather than being scared, you should embrace and be curious, knowing that it's really here to stay and it's to get even better. Think about when cloud started, those that got early into cloud definitely were benefited from that first move advantage. And I'll add to this story to say 2 years ago, even while I was working in cloud, there was a time where there was just literally no project. I was big DevOps, DevSecOps, RPG expert doing all of these things in the cloud space. But there was not a lot of projects were like very hard to find in my organization. And an opportunity came to upskill in this contact center AI space. I took the training, took the workshop, and I just started like kind of learning and growing that expertise until I finally got a project in which I've been doing for the last 2 years. So again, even when you are on the job, that's to tell you that technology changes. In this same organization, a couple of people were laid off that are friends and colleagues last year, this year. So, but how do you rebrand yourself quickly? How do you spot where the opportunities are? So emerging technologies are here is where you want to be right now if you are in the tech space. And if you are not, embrace it, look at the use case for your industry and just show excitement around it and just find how we could get involved.
Awesome. Thank you for your time. It was good speaking with you.
Thank you. I feel like I was too serious.